Well, hey there, everybody. It is a rainy Friday. I trust all is well with everyone out there. I'm stuck in my car right now because I am here and I need to get into there. Whoa, that was a bright flash of close lightning right there. And by there, I am referring to Kroger. We are having a gathering tomorrow that is going to involve some delicious food, but I do not have this delicious food in my possession, which is why I need to get into Kroger to get this delicious food. And it just so happened to start downpouring not even 5 minutes before I pulled into this parking lot. I could make the mad dash. I do have an umbrella back here, so I might just do that because I want to get some of the shopping done. But before we continue, and without further ado, oh, and it doesn't fail. The umbrella is way in the back, behind the seat and underneath the protective canopy, the hard protective canopy in the back there. Can't be within easy reach, right? So am I going to attempt to climb through my car and get this? Am I that daring? Yeah, probably. I guess if I'm going to do it, I might as well do it, right? Gotta put this down. Oh, look at that. Hey, stop looking at my rear end. Whoa, hey, Mr. Lightning. All right. Got my trusty umbrella here, and I think I'm going to do this. Even though, yeah, I'm going to do this. Do that one shook it? That shook the car. Wow, that was pretty cool. I am braving the elements. Well, I have had a successful shopping trip. Got a little bit wet, but nothing like it would have been if I was trying to sprint it into the store. So, homeward bound, yes we shall go. Well, I have successfully made my way back home, and I have everything I need from the grocery store in order to create my feast for tomorrow. Everything right here. Here's what we got going for us today. 2 full slabs of ribs and all the fixings for the dry rub and even the sauce that's going to go on after the smoking process. And so one of the first things I'm going to do is just kind of break these ribs out of the package and get them prepared. We're going to do a dry rub here real quick. And it's best when making this dry rub to then put it on the ribs, stick it in the refrigerator, preferably overnight to let them actually soak in. Now, if you let it sit in the refrigerator for a few hours, that works as well. But the longer the better. Think of it as marinating with a dry rub. So that's going to be the next step here. So we'll get things ready and we'll start making that dry rub up. So the first things first is we're going to open up these ribs here and we're going to lay them in this pan that I have sitting off the side here. This will allow us to keep everything kind of contained. Now, the thing with these ribs is they are juicy. So what I'm going to do here first is kind of hold the ribs over the edge of the sink here as I cut into them to allow all the juices to kind of flow out correctly. Rib set number 1 is out of the package. We will do the same with bag number 2 here. And let's kind of cut and fast forward here a little bit and get this in the pan so you know the next step. Now, once you have the ribs in the pan on the top side facing down, you may notice that there is a membrane on the bottom side of the ribs over top of the meat portions. It's a silverish membrane. You want to remove that because when you remove that, it allows the ribs to naturally bend as they have heat applied to them as they're cooking in your smoker or in your oven. So if you've got that membrane covering the meat, take it off. Basically, you want the meat to be dark red color showing through so that the heat actually gets to it and that membrane's not blocking it. Now these ribs right here, they're good to go, so we're going to start on making that dry rub. Alright, we're going to take these ribs and move them out of the way so we can start making that dry rub. Yep, that is heavy. Now I use the tinfoil pan because I don't like cleaning up pans, quite honestly. So once it's done, you can take that tinfoil pan and toss it out. I like being able to talk with my hands, as you can tell. Alright, so we're going to grab some of the dry ingredients here. We got some onion powder, we got some cayenne, we got some garlic powder, we've got some turmeric, we have some coarse pepper, and basically that's it. That's kind of what's involved. Now you can add salt if you want to. I choose not to, because why add extra sodium if you do not need to add that extra sodium? Now one thing that you can do if you want your dry rub to be a little bit more sweet is you can add some sugar to it. Me, I prefer not to put extra sugar in. I like the natural taste of the rib when it comes off the smoker. I want all my flavor to really be within the smoke ring that's around that rib. But yeah, you can grab a little bit of sugar or even brown sugar. Now if you're going to grab one or the other, I would prefer doing the brown sugar. And if you really want to go healthy, you can also grab some honey instead of the brown sugar or the regular sugar. But the honey is where you would add it to the sauce portion at the end, not during the dry rub portion. So it's up to you if you want to add a little bit of sweetness or not. Me, I'm just going to stick with the standard way without the added sugars, because the way I feel is, you know, the same as I do about the sodium and the salt. Well, sodium is salt, but don't add it if you don't need it. You're going to get plenty of flavor out of this recipe. All right, here comes a point where we mix these dry ingredients into the dry rub. So we're going to start things off right now with your garlic powder. Garlic powder calls for 2 tablespoons worth for 2 slabs of ribs. That's what we're going to go off of. Now, if you only have 1 slab of ribs, that's fine. Just cut the recipe in half. Now, this is going to take forever if I shake it out of this. And I've been doing this recipe for a while. So grab that measuring device if you have it and use it. But because I've been doing it for quite some time here, we're going to do 2 tablespoons of the garlic powder. 1 1,000, 2 1,000. There's your 2 tablespoons of garlic powder. All right, next up is the onion powder. All right, onion powder is calling for 4 teaspoons. 4 teaspoons of onion powder. So here we go. 1 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000. There we go. Next up, we're going to do the pepper. Pepper is for 2 racks of ribs. We're going to do 1 teaspoon of pepper. 1 teaspoon of pepper. And I do the freshly ground stuff here, so 1 teaspoon. All right, next up, we're going to go with the cayenne pepper. You want a little heat? Fantastic. Add the cayenne to your mix. If you do not want any heat, don't add the cayenne. If you want more, add more. If you want less, add less. Kind of goes without saying, but I wanted to say it anyway. But for this recipe, which again is 2 slabs of ribs, the cayenne pepper is going to be a teaspoon here. We got 1 teaspoon of cayenne pepper. So you know what? I could just dump like that, but I like a little more control over the cayenne pepper. So what I'm going to do is use a little shaker side, and we got 1 teaspoon of the cayenne pepper. So I'm just going to kind of shake it in, and it is flowing, and that should be enough. We don't want to kill our mouths on this. All right, next up is going to be turmeric. Now, turmeric has many health benefits. The top ones are, it's basically an anti-inflammatory, and it's got a lot of antioxidants built into it. But with turmeric, we're going to use just a little bit of it, because turmeric does have its own flavor characteristic, and you don't want it to overpower any of the other flavors that you're putting in here. So just a little bit of it should do just fine. So with the turmeric, what I'm going to do is probably take about a teaspoon at the most of this, maybe even a little bit less. So here we go. 1 1,000. Okay, that's enough. When you think you've had enough, go a little less. So there's our basic dry rub. Nothing fancy, nothing crazy. And what we're going to do is just kind of mix this guy up a little bit. there's our dry rub. All right, now that the dry rub is mixed up, we're gonna grab the ribs again and we're gonna bring it back over here and we're gonna show you how that's done. All right, grab these ribs. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna start with, like I said, the bottom sides first, then we'll flip them over. So we'll take some of this dry rub here. And you don't need to put a lot on because you'll be able to spread out the seasoning with your fingers here in a second. So there we go, a couple pinches, and let's just rub it around, get it spread out here on the ribs. Oh, fantastic. This is great. It's magnificent. So what I'm gonna do is take the same dry rub and kind of do the same on the lower level rib here. Maybe do it a little easier this time by taking it and just kind of sprinkling it on from the bowl directly. There we go. All right, and once you're done doing the underside, what we're going to do is then flip the ribs over and we're going to coat the top side. So let me flip these ribs real quick here. All right, and let's coat that top side now. All right, top side facing upward. That's the way we want it to be. I'm going to take this rub again and just kind of sprinkle it over the top. Like so. And we'll do the same for the underside right now, just so that we can move this bowl out of the way. I'm actually putting a little bit more on the top side than I did on the bottom side. And time to work the dry rub into the ribs. All right, we're going to lift that top section up a little bit here. Spin the tray around so you can see a little bit better. And it's as simple as just working the dry rub up into the rib, all over the surface there. Get it pressed down a bit. Smelling fantastic. All right. Terrific. And just like that, we got the dry rub in place. And what we will do is we'll take these ribs and throw them in the refrigerator. All right, let me go open that refrigerator up. Now, it's a good idea to do with the refrigerator what you would with an oven. You want to pre-cool it to 67 degrees. And again, let that sit in the refrigerator for a few hours, or if you want to do it overnight, that works as well. So basically, ribs are in the refrigerator, and the next step is going to be to take those out and then put it on the smoker. Now, the wet rub comes into contact with the ribs at a little bit later time. Once the meat has had a chance to sit on that smoker for a while, you're going to remove those ribs, apply half of the recipe for the wet rub, and then you're going to put it back onto the smoker. Not for long, just to allow it to sear in and caramelize that wet rub. But we'll get into all that tomorrow. So thanks for joining me in the kitchen. Here's the intro to my ribs for tomorrow. Thanks for watching, and until next time, we're done.